Hi, in this video I'm going to be demonstrating part of the new Traktor controller I've made for TouchOSC. This is for the all-new version of TouchOSC, which features lots of exciting new additions. It's currently in closed beta and due for release later this year, but I've been fortunate enough to have been invited to test it out. I'll be looking at what's new and what makes the new upcoming version of TouchOSC so amazing in a later video, but for now I'm going to be talking you through the features of the effects section in my new layout for Traktor. 10 years ago I made the original Jog-On layout for TouchOSC, which you can still find as one of the default layouts in the current version of TouchOSC. One limitation of this layout is that in order to use some of the features, you had to have Traktor mapped to very specific effects. This was fine if you wanted to use the beat masher and beat slicer effects quite heavily, but quite limiting if you wanted to assign your own effects. Also, it was designed for a much earlier version of Traktor, so many of the features now no longer work as originally intended. In this new version of Jog-On, you now have much more control over the effects section and how you route your decks through it, so let's take a look. Okay, so here we are in Traktor. I have the layout running on an iPad, and the iPad is currently streaming to my screen so that you can see my mouse movements here. I'll be taking a closer look at this new layout in a forthcoming video, but for now we're just going to concentrate on the effects section. One great thing about the new TouchOSC is this tabbed areas that you can create called pages. So I've got the whole thing split up into various pages, the main ones being the control between deck A and deck C, and deck B and deck D. So you have control over 4 decks, 2 standard decks and 2 remix decks. But let's not get distracted. We're going to be looking at the effects section here. So this is very much like you have the effects routing set up in Traktor. You can assign your deck to any of the 4 effects units. And you have control of the 4 effects units on these tabs up here. So FX1 and FX3, FX2 and FX4. And you've got control over these in the way that you would have in Traktor. So you've got your dry wet and you've got the amounts for each of the effects and whether you want to turn them on. If you tap on, it'll kind of hold. But if you hold down shift and tap on, the effect will remain on. Also, if you hold shift, you can cycle through the effects by using the slider. That's for each of the effects. Okay, so that's how you route the effects. That's how you control the effects as you normally would through Traktor. Let's look now at FXA and FXB. So let's look at FXA. What we can do is route this to any of the 4 effects units, and these buttons will control the FX amount on the first slot in any of the 4 effects units. So here we've got it mapped to beat masher, and pressing a button will just turn it on momentarily. And again, you can assign this to any of the effects units. So let's assign it to FX unit 2, where I have the beat slicer effect loaded. You need to remember for these to work that you have to have the deck routed to that effects unit as well. So here I've got it routed to 1 and to FX unit 2 as well. So let's look now at FXB. Again, you can route this to any of the 4 effects units. We'll stick here with effects unit 1, where I've got a flanger effect and a gator effect loaded. What this will do is control the FX amount in FX slots 2 and 3 of any given FX unit. As soon as you move it from the bottom left, it will turn the effect on. And when you move it back into the bottom left corner, it'll turn the effect off. So this is working through deck A, but obviously you can do this through deck B as well. And you can assign that independently to any of these effects units. So you can have each deck assigned to different effects units if you wanted to, but the routing is entirely up to you. And remember that you can still use these FX sections in the normal way, just by turning the effect on and moving the amounts. So here I've got a delay effect set up as a single unit in FX3. I've got that routed to FX3 from deck A. And I've just got kind of a fade to grey effect working there. Okay, that's about it, I think, for the effects sections. In future videos, I'm going to be looking at some of these other features, like the stem control and the freeze section, which is something I didn't know Traktor actually had, but I've recently found out about it, and it's brilliant. It's really good for sort of chopping up brakes. And I'm going to be looking as well at the remix decks controls. So we've got full control over the remix decks, and we've got full control over the step sequencer as well. But that's all for another video. For now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.